It's been a very challenging year for everyone. And even though we've had many, many dark days, there are things to celebrate. And that's one of the reasons why gathering at an occasion like this is so important. Dear Governor, and to the Rotarians and dignitaries on the call, all protocols observed. It's wonderful to be able to get together with like-minded people, and it may be many hours ahead and you may be many miles away, but that doesn't really matter in Rotary, does it? I think right now more than ever, we understand that being a member of Rotary is like owning a global passport. The fact that we exist without borders and boundaries, and that we're essentially almost our own country, where we exist in more than 200 countries and geographical areas. It is an incredible joy to be able to present with my dearest friend, Lena, this morning. And I'm going to give a little bit of an overview of some high level things from Rotary's perspective. And then Lena is going to take it down to how does it apply to the club level and to your district level and to us as everyday Rotarians. What does some of this mean to us, and how can we make it significant in our lives? Before I begin with some of my comments, I want to tell you that Rotary indeed is a very small world. And I look out at the landscape that's in front of me right now, and I see many faces, but I do see in the screen my friend Lena. And we have been friends for I don't even know how many years now. And it's so interesting. She's from Norway, I'm from Canada. Yet we find ourselves in multiple countries around the world attending conferences, and she's been in my home. I've been in her home. And there's something to be said about when you've been in someone's home and stayed together, that you really truly get to know who people are. And I could not be more proud that she is going to serve on the board of directors at the time that I'm serving as well. And being able to serve with someone that you know well is an incredible privilege, because you understand how they think. And that's one of the joys of, again, having a global organization, is understanding that we have friends in all corners of the world, including Trustee Per Hoyen and Annette Lort, good friends I know to all of you, and to me as well, who I've had an incredible privilege to serve with, both on the board and as trustees together. So our organization right now, one of the things that we could have never known if we go back to last March, is what would have been in front of us. But we have stepped up as an organization in such an incredible way. I like to say that when the world stepped down, we stepped up. And that means that when we were asked, as we still are, to be socially distant from each other, to be in our own homes, to be protecting each other, that somehow or other, Rotarians, we all found a way, you found ways to still do service, even during this difficult and challenging time. We see wonderful examples the whole world over of people who have been creating and sewing masks, raising money for ventilators, understanding food scarcity issues, even in developed countries, that there are people who have great need right now, people who have had incredible financial impact from the pandemic. And so one of the things that I know fills my heart with joy is also watching Rotarians around the world take care of each other, making sure that we're looking out across our clubs. And even though many of us have been able to jump onto digital platforms and use them very effectively, we still know that there are others who don't. And so making sure that they're not isolated, that we are still including our good Rotary family friends, and taking care of their needs. We know that mental health issues are at an all-time high. The level of anxiety and worry, it still remains so. However, we do know now that there is hope on the horizon, hope for vaccines that are going to be administered across the globe. And these will be a game changer, just as polio was back in 1955, when this same kind of fear permeated our planet. And the Salk vaccine, when it was first administered and declared to be successful, it really did change the landscape, as is going to happen now with the COVID vaccine. And it's going to be incumbent upon us as Rotarians to be able to be a voice for vaccines. This has been our space for decades advocating for safe usage of vaccines to eradicate polio. And one of the things that we can celebrate, again, things to celebrate during dark days, is that we have still made incredible progress with our polio eradication efforts, even during the pandemic time. More so, we've been able to take the polio infrastructure that we have created along with our partners in more than 70 countries, and we've been able to take those frontline polio workers and repurpose them into being frontline COVID workers as well. And so now, as we start to look at the global strategy for how vaccines are administered, our voices, like I said, are going to be incredibly important, talking about how vaccines work, that they're safe, and that everyone needs to have them for the protection of everyone else. We also know that we can use our voice in our own communities. We are leaders in our organization. So it gives us the platform to be able to talk with our municipal leaders who we have connections, our regional leaders, our international leaders, to ask, how can we help? A very great example of that right now are Rotarians in India. We will look back on this time as a best practice of what they're doing right now. They have been working with their international government, and they have been able to implement a strategy of Rotarians from the international all the way down to the local level in terms of how they're helping to set up camps, to be able to provide logistics. We know that the vaccine for COVID is an injectable, so it requires a medical professional. Unlike the polio drops, where we were able to place 2 drops in the mouth of a child. And so that does require a medical professional. However, we can provide the logistics support where it is needed and necessary. We can provide, aid to those who are overtapped because of the nature of trying to just simply take care of the virus. So there's a lot of opportunities for us to be able to use our voice. And as an organization, one of the things additionally that we will be using our voice for is talking about fair and equitable distribution of vaccines across our planet. It's going to be very easy for the developed world to acquire and purchase vaccines, but those in developing countries are going to need our advocacy and our voice to ensure that they also receive fair and equitable distribution of these vaccines. So that is something I believe that even though there are dark days, as I say, there is hope, and something that we can play an active role in because we are people of action. That's an incredibly important thing for us to remember, the activity that we can still do even while we have to be somewhat quiet. Other things worth celebrating in our organization right now, the environment. We're on July 1st of this year welcoming the environment as a new area of focus. And I don't know about you, but I am very excited about that. And if you look at the environment from an area of focus perspective, I think the most important thing is that if we look at our membership, we know 1.2 million members around the world, more than 200,000 Rotaractors, hundreds of thousands of interactors, and then alumni and Peace Fellows and all of the different participants in our different programs and people who are aware of us in our Rotary family. We're well into a 2 million person movement. And if you think about making a single difference, one person being able to make a single difference and then amplifying it by the amount of people we have in our organization, our ability to make and create lasting change is profound. And so a great example of that would be when Ian Risley from Australia was our president just a couple of years ago in 2018. He challenged everyone in Rotary to plant a tree. He wanted to plant 1.2 million trees representing our membership. Well, I know that they lost count. I know he lost count because it was more than 1.2. It was millions and millions. And so when you amplify the Rotary effect, if you will, we truly have a difference, an opportunity and a privilege to make change both small and large by using our ingenuity, our creativity, and our voice to be able to say that we can make a difference. And so global grants will become effective for all of us to apply for on July 1, and I can't wait to see the difference that that makes. Rotarians have told us this is important. Last year alone, more than $18 million worth of our global grants applied directly to something related to the environment. And so you told us this was important, and it's something that we'll see, and we'll see it pay dividends in certainly the weeks, years, and months to come. Another important signature idea that is being populated as we speak within our organization is very much a strong conversation around the topic of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this is something that our board of directors, the better part of a year and a half ago, created a diversity, equity, and inclusion statement that we adopted as an organization, looking to create fair opportunities for all of our members and to look toward some of the populations where perhaps we have areas to grow, and ensuring that we're looking out for the best and the brightest in our world to be part of our organization. And so the task force that has been struck is chaired by now Vice President for next year, Valerie Wafer. That is a piece of news that is very exciting. And she has collected a contingent of Rotarians from very diverse portfolios around the world to help craft a toolbox, if you will, for Rotary clubs to be able to take these tools and have conversations in our own clubs about how we can best reflect the diversity of our communities and of our cities and the regions that we live in. And I think at the end of the day, that's probably one of the most important parts of this conversation, because diversity in our organization can mean one thing country to country, and there can be differences. And so we have to look at what part of the conversation is most relevant for us in our own part of the world. In some countries, the most important dialogue might be about age. In another country, it might be about gender. In another country, it could be age, gender, sexual orientation, and race. It depends on where you are in the world as to what the importance is of the kind of dialogue that we can have. And so the important part for me about this part of the conversation is it allows us to talk about diversity through the lens of diverse perspective. And diverse perspective is the way that we solve the world's challenging problems. We bring together people from all different races, age, cultures, religions in a harmonious way. It allows us to solve these challenging problems differently than even our own governments, because we're able to look at things from all different perspectives. Imagine if we were all in one vocation. We'd only look at solutions through one lens, but we don't. We look at them from a very holistic perspective. And I think that that's an incredible way for our organization to be able to appreciate and understand the importance of diversity for us as one of our core values. The last thing that I'll mention to you, and we can probably address it in the questions and answers in just a few moments, is also the topic that is going to be on many people's minds, the International Convention in Taipei. The board of directors this week took a very difficult and emotional decision to have to cancel the Taipei Convention because of the global situation and the fluidity of what is still happening with the pandemic and the uncertainty of vaccinations by that point. Working very closely with the Taiwan government to understand the protocols that would be in place in their country. And it just became prohibitive for us to continue to plan that for several months from now. But I am excited to tell you that President Holger has been such a champion of understanding that while that is an unfortunate piece of news, that we also have to be able to look towards the positive. And so we now know, and it's, I know, been all over Facebook and social media, and more information will be coming to our districts, that we will be holding and hosting a international virtual convention. It won't be the Taiwan convention, Taipei Taiwan convention online. It will be the Rotary virtual convention, so that Taipei can hold an in-person event at a date to be determined in the future. And I know that there are incredible shifts that have been made in virtual platforms so that we can do these in ways that are very exciting. And I know that he's looking forward to creating what has been termed more of a cinematic experience. And I think that there is something very exciting for all of us to be able to look forward to when and in areas of the world where people are permitted to meet, even in small groups. That might be the wonderful opportunity to if permitted, be able to watch something like that together so that there is still a social aspect to what it is that your participation. Because we know that we are members of our great organization because of service and because of our fellowship opportunities. And we're social beings. We need to be together. And so sometime in the very near future, I am looking forward to a time when we all can travel again, that I can meet with all of you in person to be able to connect in a different kind of way. But until then, thank you so much for being able to include myself and of course my good friend Lena in your district conference. And I look forward to being able to hear her remarks. I know that they're going to be in Norwegian, but we'll also have an opportunity for questions and answers at the end of this. So thank you very much for your kind attention, and let me turn it over to Lena to be able to share her reflections and thoughts with you now.
Thanks, Jennifer. Well, hello everyone, and as you actually can see right now, we have diversity on screen. Just look at Jennifer and look at me. We're having the same background, but there are diversities around in Rotary. And I'll be that unpolite right now, so I'll switch into Norwegian, and I promise you I will speak slowly. At Rotary generelt, og dere i Distrikt 1470 gjør en forskjell, så var jo ikke minst de presentasjonene av prosjektene deres, utdelingen av iverksetterprisen, og ikke minst ungdomsutvekslingsstudentenes, eller disse tidligere, sin hilsen til dere tidligere i dag, det var jo et kjempegodt eksempel og et bevis på dette her. Jeg håper dere la merke til det som alle ungdomsutvekslingsstudentene sa, nesten uten unntak, og det var at Rotary har endret mitt liv. For å følge opp også på det som Jennifer nettopp sa, og ikke minst det som Søren Hermansen snakket litt om tidligere i dag, så vil jeg påstå at Rotarys verdier kanskje er viktigere i dag enn de har vært noen gang tidligere. Og uansett hva som vil skje i Rotary på ulike nivåer fremover, så tror jeg det er viktig at vi husker på at det med Rotarys hva og Rotarys hvem, det vil ikke endre seg. Vi vil ha de samme verdiene, vi vil ha grunntanken, vi vil ha den etiske ryggraden, men det vi vil se på, og det vi alltid vil måtte ha forskjellige utgangspunkt på, det er å forstå begrepet hvordan i Rotary. Fordi dette går på kultur, dette går på språk, dette går på land, det vil alltid være forskjellig. Det å ha et prosjekt i Taiwan eller et prosjekt i Danmark, det å ha et møte i Danmark, det vil være helt forskjellig fra å ha et møte i Afrika. Men jeg er veldig glad for at uansett hvordan og hvilken vei Rotary nå går, så går vi mot mer og mer regionalisering. Vi vil få lov til å gjøre Rotary, altså hvordan i Rotary, det vil vi fremover kunne gjøre mer slik som det passer oss, og ikke den som vi alle kjenner med one size fits everyone, eller som vi gjerne liker å si, at one size fits nobody. Mange vil også spørre, hva er det som nå vil skje etter covid-19? Og i vår del av verden så har vi jo vært veldig heldige, men vi ser jo også Rotary-messig at våre klubber stadig mister medlemmer, og vi har jo også klubber som stengte ned i mars, og som ikke har åpent ennå. Jeg skal jo selvfølgelig ikke si at jeg har noen fasit, men jeg tror og er ganske sikker på at vi i fremtiden så vil vi se et hybrid Rotary. Det blir ikke enten eller, men det blir litt både og. Vi vil se at klubber som har virtuelle møter, og det ser vi allerede nå, de klubbene de har allerede fått flere medlemmer. De har sett medlemmer nå som de kanskje ikke har sett på lenge, som ikke har vært til stede, som har vært ute og reist, som har bodd i andre land, og de er nå plutselig tilbake igjen i sine egne hjemmeklubber. Og ikke minst så har jo nå klubber som kjører virtuelle møter, de oppdager jo også at vi får jo mange flere gjester. Og vi kan sikkert ta ulike klubber, men bare i min egen klubb. Vi har jo aldri gjester med vanlige møter, og nå har vi 3 til 5 gjester hver eneste gang vi har et digitalt møte. Men jeg oppfordrer dere, fortell andre om de møtene dere arrangerer. Og gjerne i forkant, slik at folk kan være med. Og det jo mer internasjonalt nå, Rotary. Før så var du gjerne på møte i din egen klubb, kanskje deltok du på Distriktskonferansen som i dag, men nå kan vi jo delta rundt på internasjonale møter når det måtte være gjennom hele døgnet, hele tiden. Jeg skal jo innrømme at jeg har jo vært på veldig mange møter dette siste året, kanskje flere enn noen gang tidligere, og mange av dem gjennomføres jo faktisk med å ha på meg pyjamasbukse og slippers nederst. Det jo også lettere å få gode foredragsholdere, fordi at nå trenger jo ikke foredragsholderne å reise. De trenger ikke å sette seg i bilen, kjøre en time for å dra et sted, holde et foredrag og dra tilbake igjen. De bare logger seg på. Og det gjør jo også at Rotary blir mer relevante i de møtene som vi har. Og så skal vi jo ikke legge skjul på at det har også medført, i hvert fall for undertegnede, at vi nok har spart litt penger. Og jeg oppfordrer jo alle dere også da til å vurdere, vi har hørt om End Polio Now nå nettopp fra UNICEF, og jeg ber dere om å vurdere at de pengene dere nå har spart på ikke reise, de kan dere jo for eksempel donere til The Rotary Foundation eller til End Polio Now. Og da vet jeg jo at Per Høyen blir ekstra fornøyd. Men så oppfordrer jeg også at nå må vi kjenne vår besøkelsestid. Hvis ikke vi gjør det nå, så vil noen andre gjøre det. Tiden inne, og den tiden som vi nå i, den har altså til fulle vist at veldig mange, de ønsker å være engasjert. De ønsker å forbedre de lokalsamfunnene de i, og ikke minst, nå har de også tid. Så jeg oppfordrer dere til å se, kan vi nå få nye medlemmer blant de som nå har erkjent at det kanskje viktigere ting i livet enn det de har tenkt på tidligere, og som også har erkjent hva som viktig i livet. Så det nå en gang sånn at vi kan ikke delta som rotarianere eller som den enkelte klubb i absolutt alt som både Jennifer sier, eller RI-president Holger Knak sier, eller hva guvernør Peder Jan måtte mene. Jeg oppfordrer dere, alle klubbene, finn det som dere brenner for. Finn det som dere gode på. Finn det som gagner deres lokalsamfunn best, og gjør noe med det. Og alle vi som med i Rotary, vi med av ulike årsaker. Men det en ting som felles for oss alle, og det at vi bryr oss om andre. Vi bryr oss om våre lokalsamfunn, og vi bryr oss om verden. Og et av våre verdigrunnlag jo nettopp lederskap. Og den beste lederen, uansett bransje, det den lederen som bryr seg om andre. Det så enkelt, men det samtidig så vanskelig. Rotary gjør jo imidlertid det litt enklere. Å bry seg om lokalsamfunnet. Bry deg om lokalsamfunnet ditt. Bry deg om verden. Og gjør det du kan for å vise det. Og så Rotary jo så mye mer enn det perspektivet som hver og en av oss har. Så ikke glem, vi gode hver for oss, men sammen så vi best. Back to you, Jen.
Thanks, Lena. And I think that we'll turn it back to you, Governor, to, I think, facilitate maybe questions and answers.
Thank you very much, Jennifer and Lena. And yes, thank you very much for giving your side of how Rotary is going to be today and in the future, both in the near and in the future more longer away. And Jennifer, as you just recognized here that we in Scandinavia, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, yes, we speak together in our own language. And thank you very much, Lena, for following our conference and your reflections about the day. Fully confirmation that you are fluent into Danish too. And we all more or less understand the Norwegian language, as of course we do. And your reflection about new members. Yes, we're getting new members, and our clubs are taking new members into virtually. I had during my district visits at the clubs seen many of these new members coming in by the virtual ceremony. It's not the same as having the person in the club, But the other way is probably more easy to come into the club that way and go and join a meeting, be a guest for a meeting, etc. And we absolutely give our best to that the clubs will go to introduce guests that way, because it's more easy to just join a link, and then next time I can join the club. Jennifer, unfortunately we're in that situation that the convention in Taipei is going to virtual. The other way is now all of us have the possibility to go there and join the convention this year. And I'm sure, yes, we have all improved in using the Zoom, the Teams, etc., and being better to doing that and join it. So we can now look forward to the convention virtually. Maybe, Jennifer, do you have any small tips about the themes for this summer?
The question, I believe, was what are some tips for, was it the convention?
Yeah, for the convention, yes. Do you have some tips for some of the themes we are going to look into this summer?
Well, I don't have a sneak peek yet because I know that the draft program is being put together. However, I do know that this Monday, for example, the International Assembly is going to be taking place. And that's the event where, as many on the call will know, all of our district governors-elect convene generally in person, this year virtually, to understand the new theme year ahead and what President-elect Shaker from India is going to unveil on Monday morning for all of us, and Monday afternoon for all of you. And so one of the things I know that yesterday I was looking at the virtual platform that is being used for the International Assembly. Very interactive, a lot of animation. You get a feeling that you're actually at a convention. It's a very different experience than the virtual convention that we had last June. This makes it feel that you're actually in a studio. You're actually listening to the speakers in the studio. You can walk down hallways. You can see the vendor booths. A very interactive experience.
Great. We look very much forward to that. Jennifer and Lena, we have some questions. I don't know for who of you or for both of you, but let's look into it. And the first to have a question is your well-known friend, Per Høyen. Per Høyen?
Hi. Good to see you, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. Membership is the question we have been talking about all the year I have been in Rotary. And I'm concerned about the zones we are in here because they're simply dropping out too many, and we are getting older and older. I have been thinking for some years, will there be any plans to regionalize the way we are going to approach that problem? Because it seems that talking is not just enough.
Why don't I start with that then, Lena? Maybe you can talk about it from the region in which you're in. Per, obviously, so first of all, virtual hug and great to see you. The notion of being more regional in our approach is definitely something that I believe too. I think that we have to do a better job because there isn't one size fits all as an answer to our membership issues. Now, I do want to say that, to echo the comments earlier, we are seeing in, Rotary clubs around the world, virtually, people being inducted every single day. Now, we do know that our membership numbers are down just a little bit. And if we look back historically on trends, because we're over 115 years old, we can see what happened when the Spanish flu hit during the World Wars, what happened to our membership and what happened to our foundation giving at those different times. And we saw a little bit of a blip, and then we saw an increase. Now, we have seen a little bit of a little downturn for membership, but we've also seen a lot of areas where members are coming on because they're seeing what it is that we're able to do even during collective lockdown, which is incredible. Now, that being said, when we look at the membership numbers after July 1 and, how many we potentially may have lost during this pandemic year, we'll have a better sense of what it is. We know that the numbers are going to be down a little bit, but I believe that we have never been more relevant as an organization. The way that we have been able to showcase to the world service, even during this incredibly challenging time. And so I'm hopeful that as we come out of this, that we still embrace the kind of virtual platform that we're on today and others, so that clubs can see that, we can see past our own club experience to how we're part of something so much bigger than ourselves. And we also know that there's great examples of people right now doing incredible service in our communities that don't yet wear this pin. And it's a good opportunity for us to say, you've stepped up and done service in an incredibly difficult time. Here's a place where you can live with all of us doing this forever. And these virtual platforms, I believe, are something that should be part of a club's experience going forward, because it opens our eyes to the rest of the world and to speakers that, quite honestly, you can tap from anywhere in the world. And so what an incredible opportunity for us to say, for a club that meets every 4 weeks, to, in a typical fashion, to have 2 weeks maybe as in-person meetings, a third week as a service or a social event, and a fourth week as a virtual event where everyone can still participate, and maybe we can bring in more and more and then bring them to our service and social events. I think that might be a good opportunity. Lena, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Well, I think I actually said some of the same in my comments, but it's also quite interesting because we've just recently we've got a membership person designated for Denmark and Norway and Sweden, I think, in Zurich. And Rasmus, I saw you somewhere around here today, and that's one of the things. The other thing is what I said. It's not one size fits all anymore. We do have to be more regionalized, and we will be that. But I'll echo Per. We've been talking about this for years. It's time to stop talking and start doing. And I actually think that the new area of focus for the Rotary Foundation, the environment, will speak out to more young people. But then we who are old or older, we have to step back, because we have to let the young people start their clubs themselves. We have to let them start their club and stop telling them how they're going to run their club. Because as Jen said, maybe they want a social gathering, maybe they want to meet at a bar, maybe they want to meet at someone's work, or bring their kids or not bring their kids. We should stay out of that and let them start building their own clubs. And of course, do that maybe from Rotaractors, Rotex, and not to forget the youth exchange students, because here in Denmark, I mean, you have lots of youth exchange students every year. You're the world best. Why don't we ask them afterwards? So there are only opportunities and no borders, in my opinion.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your question, Per. The next question is from Bjørn, past Governor Bjørn Sebit, and there too we have 3 questions more. I hope you are able to take them too. Great, thank you. Bjørn?
Yes, now I could unmute. Thank you. Hi, Jennifer. We met in Stockholm some years ago. Yeah, you remember? Yes. I totally agree that it's so important that we look at Rotary differently in each region and each culture, and we've talked a lot about that, not at least in the marketing. I've heard rumors about planning a more modern organization of Rotary, a modernization idea. When will we hear more officially about these new ideas about how we organize Rotary internationally?
So I think that you might be talking about some of the conversation about shaping Rotary's future, perhaps. And a bit of that leans definitely into the topic of a regional approach and looking at that. And right now, I can tell you that the Shaping Rotary's Future Committee is reconvening to alter some of the thinking that went into the plans, and looking at sort of a couple of small pilot districts on what it is that we could do perhaps differently, testing some different ideas. One of them is an idea around creating a hub in certain regions where non-Rotarians and even Rotarians could engage in a different Rotary experience that is even beyond their own club. So say, for example, past district governors who still want to stay engaged have an opportunity to go to the hub to do something like that. People who are looking to find others who are maybe interested in a certain cause that maybe their club isn't interested in, they could go to the hub to find other people, like-minded people who want to do service that they're interested in. So this is something that you'll be hearing more about in the weeks and months to come. It's something that will be piloted probably in, I'm going to say, a couple of years from now. So we're just putting together sort of thinking behind it at this point in time. But certainly the rationale behind all of this is to look for new pathways for members to feel that they are a very important part of our organization and to provide the service opportunities that are meaningful for everyone, and recognizing that we do need to test things to make sure that we are not just closed-minded about doing things the way they've always been done. And I think we've all been part of a conversation where we've heard that, well, we don't do it that way. That's not the way we do it. And sometimes we need to be maybe a little bit more fresh in our thinking. Lena, do you want to add to that?
Fine.
Thank you for the question. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you very much for the question and for the answer. And the next raised hand is from Stockholm. That's from my colleague in Distrikt, Stockholm, District 2350. Soledad, do you have a question?
Absolutely. Let's just say thank you very much for a great conference. What a pleasure to be with you. Well, I actually have a question regarding to Jennifer about how you think about doing good. I've been thinking a lot about that myself, and I think sometimes we are so stuck on thinking that when we do good as Rotarians, we do it with Rotary projects. Maybe we should reconsider and say doing good as a Rotarian means that we should do 2 or 3 hours a month in something doing good, no matter what it is, no matter what kind of organization. Have you thought about redefining doing good?
Soledad, that's a really interesting question, and one that I'd like to reflect a little bit more on, but I do believe that what you're saying is very important. And let me give you an example. Most recently, I participated in a call, both myself and President-elect Shaker, with the leadership, and a call similar to this with the leadership of Lions International. And we had a really honest dialogue about the fact that, we're not in competition with each other, that we actually support each other, and that we should look for opportunities. And if someone, if a Lions club in one community and a Rotary club want to participate in service together, at the end of the day, we're all looking to do good in the world, as you said. And so where there's opportunity to do that, I think, it's a wonderful way for us to cultivate that. What I love most about what you're asking is, cultivating the power of positive thinking. And regardless of whether that's housed officially in Rotary or whether it's something, doing good, imagine just as a single person, every day I try to take at least a 45-minute to an hour walk. And I know many of you do the same. Imagine if on those walks, we simply picked up garbage as we were walking and, just came home and properly put it away. Not only is that doing good in the world because it's helping to clean up, but it's doing good for ourselves. And that's, in our vision statement, together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our own communities, and in ourselves. And I think that that's probably one of the most important things out of that vision statement, the last 2 words, in ourselves, that lasting change, because an activity as simple as, what I just mentioned can be something that reframes the way that you think. And so I love the essence of your question, Soledad. Thank you. I hope that's touched on an answer.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We have 2 questions more, and the first one is from Rena, who's a past governor, and then we have Susanne Gram Hansen, the second one, who's a past governor too. And that will be the two last questions we take in here today. So, Rena, please give your question.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Thank you. And thank you very much for a nice district conference. And thank you, Lena and Jennifer, for participating. It's just, that's hope as well. Just that you are here. Thank you very much. My question came up with the question from Per Høyen about membership. And I know that Rotary actors, the number of Rotary actors are increasing by numbers, and we had a wonderful presentation earlier today from the Rotary actors explaining that Rotary actor is a playground for leadership. And I wonder if any of you have a good ideas of how to spread the word or even include Rotary actors even more in our district.
Lena, I'm going to give that to you.
I can't unmute myself.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it's a great question. And again, it goes back to different cultures, I think, just to start in that direction. Because I guess if you ask an Indian or an American about Rotaract, they would understand the phrase Rotaract completely different from us. I'll switch to Danish Norwegian now. I vår kultur så jo gjerne Rotaract blitt kjent som en sånn, vennegjeng som har startet, og så har da kanskje ikke de heller tenkt på å rekruttere videre, sånn at de har dødd veldig fort. Jeg tror vi har de samme tallene rundt i våre to land, om at Rotaract-klubber, de har gått veldig i sånn bølgedaler, opp og ned og opp og ned. Så det jo det første, det jo å få disse Rotaract-klubbene til å bli stabile. Så tror jeg også at det viktig det med å definere for kanskje noen av disse, hva det de ute etter? Og jeg tror i hvert fall veldig mange, det ser jeg her, ute etter dette med leadership. Det å forbedre, det å bli en bedre leder. Jeg om noen, altså, som å være med i Rotaract eller Rotary, så får du altså en ledelseserfaring som du ikke får noe annet sted. Du blir satt til å lede et prosjekt, du blir satt til å stå på scenen, og går det dårlig den ene gangen, så gjør det ingenting. Det et trygt miljø, så da får du forsøke en gang til. Så jeg tror vi rett og slett må prøve å selge de verdiene som ligger i det. Og det må kanskje vi gjøre, alle og en. Vi må kanskje gå litt i oss selv og se på, har vi klart å på en måte selge disse verdiene, eller har det bare blitt en sånn, fest- og moroklubb, Rotaract også? Og hvis vi kan komme tilbake igjen til det, og min drøm jo at se på alle de universitetene som vi har i våre land, i de zonene vi hvor mye man kan samarbeide. Vi har internasjonale studenter, som kanskje ikke driver med alt det andre som, kremt, vi gjerne studenter gjør når vi studenter. Og få de inn i dette med å starte og få det nettverket, få lederutviklingen, og så kan de kanskje også da ta med seg denne verdien hjem. Så tror jeg også det en sak som veldig viktig, og det for oss rotarianere, som da tar rotaractere inn i klubbene. Så skal vi huske på det at når vi får en god idé, så starter vi gjerne med at det var en god idé, la oss lage en komité. Og så lager vi en komité, og så har vi 15-20 møter før vi kommer videre. Altså, da skal vi være klare over at de som kommer inn fra Rotaract, før vi i det hele tatt har satt ned komiteen, så jo de ferdig med å gjennomføre prosjektet. Og det må vi la dem få lov til. Så det egentlig bare en sånn oppmuntringsboost. Jeg har ikke noen andre gode ideer, men jeg skal komme tilbake igjen og tenke på det.
Thank you very much. And Rena, thank you very much for the question. I can say that we here in the district is working with Rotaract, absolutely. We have Rotaract actually in the studio today, so we cooperate that way. And they are giving us a big hand doing this conference. And we have the Copenhagen Rotaract Club rebuilt because it was a very low level, and that is successfully done this year. And then we are working on building up Rotaract in the community of two larger cities in the northern part of our district here, because we are lacking of Rotary clubs in that area. I have a question now from past Governor Susanne Gram Hansen. Susanne, you have a question?
Yes, now I'm unmuted, I think. Thank you, Jennifer and Lena, for your speech and for a nice conference, Peder Jon. Lena, you know, I'm part of the membership committee here in district, in our district. And I think it's, as you said, the environment, it will be a subject that will be important to get new members. I'm interested in knowing, are there any worldwide projects in the pipeline about environment? So Rotary can be known as the organization who is doing this or that about the environment.
I'll maybe perhaps start, and then Lena, maybe you can talk about regionally anything that you know of in your part of the world. I couldn't agree with you more about this being, you know, obviously something that is going to engage Rotaractors. And one of the things I can share with you is that we struck a committee that has been working this year on how to unroll the environment to the Rotary world, particularly in terms of projects and grants in the new year, the new Rotary year. And I had my hand in being able to populate that committee, and it was very important to me that we have equal representation of Rotaractors on that and Rotarians, because we needed to hear both voices. And I can't say that there is necessarily a one united way of looking at the environment, because we know that Rotarians are doing so many different things with this. And also because even something like polio started because one person had the idea, and from the grassroots, it bubbled up and became the movement that it is right now. And so quite honestly, I think what's going to be fascinating is to see where Rotarians spend their time and what, you know, where it becomes a critical mass of maybe uniting behind, you know, something, whether it's, you know, cleaning plastics out of the water, planting trees. It'll be interesting to see where the energy really flows once we have the environment officially on board. So I don't have one united thing that we're all behind, but maybe Lena, if you've got an example regionally of something that is going on there, plastic soup or something like that. I don't know if that's something that means something there.
I do know about one sort of regional project, which is in the Baltic Sea. I don't know if you're into that in the Danish districts, but I do know that Finland, Sweden, even Norway is onto that project. So that's as the closest I get. But as Jennifer said, I hope, to be honest, that we don't put on a new global project. Our main task now is to end polio. And another thing is just because of the diversity. I mean, we have different challenges due to the environment all over the world. In Norway, we have other challenges than we have in Denmark. In parts of Denmark, you have the other challenges in Fyn and Sjælland or at Jylland or wherever. So that's going to be the fun thing, I think, is to see how do the clubs and districts actually take this on, this challenge, and how can we put the Rotary brand on our environmental efforts? And that's going to be interesting. And that was kind of fun with those Iverksetterpris as well, because they all had that issue as sort of their main theme, all the winners today. So we're already there. We're just going to put it into the context and put the Rotary brand on it. And then I truly believe Rotary is going to be more relevant and will have more members, whether it's Interact, Rotaract, or Rotary. So I'm really looking forward to see all the great ideas coming from all the clubs.
Thank you very much, Susanne, and thank you very much, Jennifer and Lena. Jennifer and Lena, I have one more question from one of our participants. Will that be okay?
Absolutely.
And then I know we are widely over the time, but it's so interesting and people are I have to give the word for you, Anne, and Anne is our district president of Innerwheel. And you know we here in our district have a good cooperation with Innerwheel, and in fact, in Denmark there are more Innerwheels clubs in the whole US, and there are more Innerwheelers than the whole US. So Innerwheel is bigger than the US, in fact. Anne, the question from you. Unmute.
Anne, vi skal lige have dig til at unmute.
Unmute.
Hello. Thank you very much for joining this conference, and thank you to you, Jennifer, and to you, Lena. I would like to ask you a question about what about Innerwheel? Because if we look back in the history, I think that Innerwheel was a kind of, they started because the English woman, she was married to a Rotarian. And do you work together with Innerwheel in your countries, or are we still the ladies with the hats on? We don't use hat anymore, but how are you doing there? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Lena, maybe you can talk about it regionally and then I'll talk about it internationally.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll start from our part of the world. It's not a big secret that I've asked all the Innerwheel clubs, I've asked all Innerwheelers, as long as I've been Rotarians, to please join Rotary. So that's not a big secret, because we have the same values, we have the same things. And another thing is that you don't allow men into your clubs. But to answer your question, I can only answer for Norway and Sweden that I happen to know, and that's we try to cooperate. We cooperate in some issues, in some projects, and then on the other hand, I know Innerwheel have some completely different projects on your own, like the fistula, guide dogs, things like that. Meaning, so in my opinion, but it could be, of course, it could have been better. We have the same goal, and well, as you said, we happen to know each other because there's a familiarity between the members. Even though you've, as far as I know, you've opened up for non-Rotarians as well. So, but my dream would be, I'm sorry if that's insulting and I don't mean to be, but my dream is to see all the Innerwheel members into Rotary, because we can do so much better good by uniting than being separate. And I do know that most of the people I asked, they said, oh no, we don't want to meet once every week. And then you can reply now, we don't have to meet once in a week anymore. So it's all up to the clubs. So I don't see a reason why we should separate, but that's my opinion. So Jennifer, you can give the correct answer, I guess.
Well, first, let me thank you for your leadership in Innerwheel, and for making that a priority in your life. And obviously, there is a very distinct connection for you to Rotary, and because of the affiliation between the two. I think that in my experience with Innerwheel, most of my own personal experience with Innerwheel has been while I've been in India and meeting a lot of the women there that have formed Innerwheel clubs, and the dialogue that I've had with them. You know, they're very proud, obviously, of, you know, as they should be, as should you, of the incredible service that's being provided. And for many of them, the dialogue that I've had has been that they formed them out of necessity because they didn't feel comfortable necessarily in, you know, in a men's club. Certainly, we know that, you know, it's literally just been over 30 years that women have been permitted to join Rotary, that it actually took a Supreme Court ruling in the United States. And so I think out of necessity, because women were not permitted to join, Innerwheel was something that, you know, very creative people came up with to be able to still do service in alignment with their partners and with Rotary. I think now if I can go back to what I talked about a little bit earlier about diverse perspective in Rotary, that we're stronger when we bring together the ability to look at things through whether it's age or gender or race or culture, sexual orientation. When we have that diverse perspective, I believe we're stronger. And I would say that I am incredibly proud of the work that Inner Wheel is doing, but I would also offer an invitation for consideration to turn Inner Wheel clubs into Rotary clubs. And I think that might be an interesting conversation and dialogue to have. You're already doing exactly what, you already are Rotarians, perhaps switching the name, but keeping the heritage. I think that there's probably ways to be able to look at that, but I certainly want to commend you for what you're doing. And I think maybe there's room for some dialogue in the future. And I don't know, Anne, if you agree with that or not, but thank you for the question, and thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. And indeed, thank you very much, Jennifer and Lena, for your answers of all these questions. It has been impressing, it has been interesting to listen to you, and it's been so great to have your words about Rotary is going to be, and these issues we have to deal with just as now, and what we are looking into. And we have, during the questions, been around in many corners just in these, little hour. I have to say, Rotary opens opportunities. You have chosen showing us this so well. Even we on Monday will have a new motto. I hope that Rotary opens opportunities will stay for some time, because it has been very, very useful as a governor. When I'm going to explain what is Rotary, then you can have a story about Rotary and all the opportunities we have here. So that was a great motto, and I'm looking very much forward to hear what our new Rotary International President will give us a motto next week. Jennifer, that's a cliffhanger, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jennifer, to be early up this Saturday morning. I know you already have been in the meeting before this one, so thank you very much for joining us from Canada. And Lena, thank you so much for joining us from Norway.